How's it going, everyone? I hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far, but it's time to sit down and talk about Tokyo Ghoul. We have Tokyo Ghoul Urie, chapter 136, and this is rather odd because I got two different translations that I've read and now I have to review on, and some of the dialogue is actually a lot better, at least in my eyes, for the manga stream translation. That's the one I'm used to reading, and there's some dialogue pieces, and also the title is also different due to this translation. And all of this is just basically out of whack because Japan was on holiday and a lot of the magazines and a lot of other manga were basically on break for a week in Japan. But this is the only reason why we're actually getting Tokyo Ghoul Urie a little bit earlier. So expect the next chapter, 137, to be coming out on a Monday or Tuesday, but that is all up in the air. We're gonna have to basically play it by ear and just see when the next chapter is coming out. But besides talking about the next chapter, which we don't have to worry about right now, let's talk about the current chapter we currently have, because with Manga Stream's translation, there's actually pieces of dialogue in here. I actually prefer them with the translation I read in my live reaction. But what we got in this chapter was really, really good. There's actually three main parts I want to go over in this review. The first one is going to be talking about Zero Squad, because I am so happy that Zero Squad showed up. Zero Squad is rolling up and they're about to go up against Hajime. There's a lot to discuss right there. And then there's also Kuroiwa giving his best against the dodgy mother, Roma's Kakaja. He is acting like a complete boss and just doing it with a sword nonetheless. And of course, the last part is everything dealing with Urie, him having dreams and imaginations of Shirazu. I love that whole bit. And of course, at the very end, when he basically gets swallowed whole by Roma's Kakaja, the dodgy mother. So there's a lot to go over, and let's just start at the very first page, because the first page actually has different dialogue and a different translation, with the title of this chapter, which has it as Despite Bravery, kind of different from when it actually had it on another translation when it read as Those in High Spirits. But it's actually Hajime's dialogue right here that is very different, and I prefer this one a lot more, where it says, "Ugh, really? Why only women and children? They never fight back. I'm getting bored out of my mind. Give me a dude." A dude. Despite the fact that that is completely sexist, Hinami and Toka could hold their own against Hajime, and I put money on it that Toka, at full power, if she wasn't pregnant and eating human food, would whoop Hajime's ass. But I prefer this dialogue and translation a lot better, because the one I read for my live reaction, and instead of it saying "give me a dude," it was like "Mew." A Mew. I was like, what the hell is a Mew? So I prefer this a lot better. But then also when it comes to when Zero Squad stepped in, right after Hinami and Toka were basically, holding their own against Hajime. Hinami did her absolute best, but Hajime's Kagane is absolutely massive, so she did her best right there, but then as soon as she got knocked up against the wall, Toka stepped in and activated her Ukaku, sending like the feather Ukaku bullets basically towards Hajime, trying to hold her own the best way she can. But then this is when Zero Squad stepped in, and I am absolutely ecstatic with the fact that Kaneki was at least smart enough to leave Zero Squad down in the underground. And this is the other piece of dialogue I actually prefer in the manga stream translation than in the previous one that I read from my live reaction, where Hajime is comparing Hirako to Judas, and I actually like that that was placed in there. It basically reads as such: "Judas, your plain face belays your insanity. Do you have any idea what you're actually doing? Come on, say something, mister." I actually like that a lot better. Him actually comparing, Hirako defecting from the CCG, being a traitor, to Judas, who betrayed Jesus, in the Old Testament or the New Testament, depending on the Bible, basically. But I really like that comparison of Hajime just looking at Hirako being like, "You're the Judas of the CCG." But I also want to take this moment to talk a little bit more about Zero Squad, because the children amongst Hirako, the three individuals under Hirako in Zero Squad, most of us probably don't even know their names or their capabilities. So before I even talk about Urie, popping up in the underground in this chapter, let's talk about these three children, because I bet you we're going to have a matchup between these three kids against Hajime, and then Hirako might fight up against Urie, depending on Urie's intentions down in the underground. But the three kids we have in the Zero Squad go by these names. The one with the mop-type haircut, which is very similar to Urie's hairstyle, goes by the name of Rike Sozu, and this person is 16 years old. We don't know if it's male or female. They just refer to this person as they, but this person is the oldest amongst the three individuals in Zero Squad. The next person is Yusa Arima. This kid with the black hair has the same last name as Arima. He is 15 years old, but even though he does have the same last name, he's actually a descendant of the Arima family, but he's like a distant relative, like not even close relative-wise to the Arima that we know in Tokyo Ghoul. But then the last member, the person that has like the weird hairstyle blonde and is actually different from the other two, is Shio Hie, 14 years old, and this is actually a guy, not a girl. But every time I look at this character, I honestly think it is a female character. He is the youngest, but also has the most kills out of the trio in Zero Squad. So those are the members that we definitely have to remember their names, because I honestly believe that within these next couple chapters, we're going to get some awesome fights between these three characters going up against Hajime, while we have Hirako going up against Urie. Now, that is the next thing that is really shocking about this chapter, is that Urie, it seems like it's Urie, he shows up down in the underground, and we don't actually get the reveal of who it is. We just kind of get like silhouettes of his character, but he is confronting Hirako and he's saying dialogue like, I feel exactly the same. And the panel we are left off on is, it appears to be a punch heading towards Hirako's face. Now, Urie has a lot of mixed emotions and a lot of stuff going on in his head right now. He views Hirako as a traitor, because if we remember back in previous chapters, Urie and Hirako were both under Arima in the Arima squad, the original Zero Squad, before these three kids ended up joining Zero Squad. So there's a lot of camaraderie there, and there's a lot of mixed emotions, because Urie right now, his brain is all over the place by being under Furuto's rule, and that is actually being blackmailed kind of in a way with Hairu's head in a jar. So trying to see where Urie's mindset is at right now, there are two possible scenarios with Urie being down in the underground. Odds are he'll either fight Zero Squad alongside the O guy, or he's going to defect from the CCG, and he's going to be like asking Hirako, why did you defect? Why did you leave us? I thought we were comrades. I thought we were friends. There's a lot going on right now in Urie's mind, and I think that if they do end up fighting, we'll end up determining the mindset and where Urie's character will go moving forward, whether or not he's still going to be a part of CCG under the rule of Furuta, or if he will join GOAT and actually join Hirako by being under Kaneki and the GOAT organization. So in Ishida's fashion, we cut away from Zero Squad with Urie and Hajime, and we move over to Kuroiwa being an absolute boss with nothing more than a medieval sword. Like, honestly, if this man had a Quinque or the Arata suit on him, or his other hand, which I don't even know where it is within like the main CCG office right now, he is holding his own with just a medieval sword against Ryo and Roma. Like, this man is an absolute boss. There isn't really too much to dive into here of him just, dodging Roma's Kakuja, trying to do the best that he can, and then eventually, getting pinned up against a wall, dodging the best he can, kind of getting stabbed here and there. The sword ends up breaking thanks to a punch from the dodgy mother, or at least as Roma likes to prefer it as, this is my dodgy punch. There's great dialogue right here, but while all this is going on, we have Urie still on the ground, looking at Kuroiwa fighting back, giving it his all against Ryo and Roma, and he's just thinking in his mind, is like, what are you doing? Get out of here. You are wounded, you old geezer. Leave me and get out of here. And he's like, damn it, I can't speak. I feel like my back's broken, and I can't speak because I feel like there's lava just coming up from my throat. And it's at this moment to where Urie starts to remember Shirazu. And this is a fantastic moment within this chapter of just having Urie reminisce about Shirazu, that final moment, that final confrontation when they were going against Noro during the Rosewald extermination arc, and they just have this dialogue, and I absolutely love this. It brought kind of like a sad smile to my face, remembering the time when Shirazu was yelling at Urie, "That enough bullets for you, Urie?" And then he ended up having that devastating blow to his side, and he ended up dying at the end of that arc. It's absolutely beautiful, but what I love about this is that Urie starts to dream and imagine if Shirazu didn't in fact die back during the Rosewald fight with Noro. And we have these great panels that go through all of the time skips basically, and having Shirazu placed in those time frames. I absolutely love that. So on page 15, where we have, you know, the black-haired Sasaki, he went up going rogue, you know, going to Koklia, and ended up like relinquishing his leading duties of the QS squad. And we just have Shirazu with a little bit of his hair growing back saying, what's the deal with Sasan? Acting out, and that is honestly what he possibly would be saying if he was still alive talking with Urie at that time. And then we flash forward even more to when Urie and Higemaru were going up against Donato, and then we have Shirazu there, and the hair is still growing, and I like how it kind of shows the time passing, and this would be Shirazu if he was still alive saying, I'm gonna back him up, watch my back. And we would have had Urie and Shirazu going up against Donato. And then the last panel of having Mitsuki and Ora, you know, they've been very distant from the QS squad, kind of on their own missions. And we have Urie just working out, and we have Shirazu basically right there with him saying, he'll be back eventually. Don't need to worry about him, saying like everything will be okay with Mitsuki and Ora. And then this final panel of all of the QS members, with Shirazu included, just seeing how everyone is just so happy and everyone is just content. And then this dialogue right here from Urie, thinking of what could have been, saying, hey Shirazu, back then, if we weren't down a man, if only you didn't die, maybe, just maybe, it have all been better. And it's at this point where he starts to think about, you know, losing his father, about his hatred kind of like towards Kuroiwa with the fact that he was kind of present when his father died. But all of this anger, all this emotion comes to the surface, and eventually he's just saying to himself, in truth, I, and repeats that over and over again. And then while all this is happening, Kuroiwa gets captured by the dodgy mother, ends up almost having his right arm basically ripped out of its sockets, and Urie just ends up, you know, coming back alive, full of rage, screaming at the top of his lungs, just attacks Ryo, ends up cutting off his arm, and immediately just goes like running towards Roma's Kakuja. And I love this dialogue, even though it is complete, where he's basically saying to himself, the thing that really annoyed me, and then it just cuts off. And then he cuts off Ryo's arm, and then the thing I really resented, and then it just cuts off again when he just gets smashed into the floor by this huge Kakuja, and then ends up getting devoured by Roma's Kakuja. And we just don't know what's going to complete that sentence. But what I kind of take away from this is that this would be the sentence I think he would be saying. The thing I resented the most was myself. I think he's mostly angry with himself, with his father, like he was too young, he didn't understand what was going on, but then all the events to where he was old enough within the CCG, and you know, Shirazu's death, he wasn't strong enough. He wasn't unable to stop this from happening, and I think that is what he's resented the most, is that he's angry with himself, and that he wasn't able to stop these occurrences from happening, and everyone is suffering because of it. And the fact that he even gets swallowed by Roma's Kakuja just reminds me to when he kind of got half swallowed by Big Madam back during the auction raid. I'll have a picture up because that is just an hilarious picture. I absolutely love that made me remind myself of him almost getting half eaten alive by Big Madam, but it just seems that Urie just loves getting eaten by ghouls. He just gets swallowed whole. But this little cliffhanger right here where it says, gone without even being chewed, and it says, next issue, what fate awaits Urie? We know he's not going to die, and I've talked with most of you guys down in the comments, and I think everyone has a consensus of that Urie will most likely frame out, he will burst out of this Kakuja's stomach, kind of similar, I guess, to a xenomorph in the Alien franchise, which I think would be very, very cool. But once he does that, he's going to go berserk on Roma and Ryo. And another thing to note too is Furita is somewhere still in the room. Even though we didn't see him in this chapter, he is lurking around somewhere. So even though if he defeats Roma and Ryo, they still have Furita to worry about. So I'm hoping that backup will still arrive for Urie and Kuroiwa, most likely Juzo or anyone else basically there at the CCG. But I can definitely see Juzo popping up if it were to happen. And the same thing could go right now for back during the Zero Squad, because Kaneki right now is rushing back to get back to the underground with the Zero Squad, going up against Hajime, and now Urie now being put into the mix. And that doesn't even bring in the fact that Yomo right now is fighting Mitsuki and Ora. There's so much going on right now, so that is the gist of this chapter. It was very simple. It went by very fast for me, even when I read it for my live reaction, and I think it just has to do with the fact that it's very battle-oriented. There's not much dialogue. It's everyone just fighting one another. So that is my thoughts right now on the chapter, and I really liked going back and actually just getting the names of the Zero Squad members, because we definitely have to watch out for Zero Squad. They are going to be doing awesome things, or at least I'm hoping they will. Knowing Ishida, they might get destroyed, but the hype has been built up for this squad, and I am expecting the absolute best from these three children, including Hirako. So absolutely really enjoyed this chapter. Want to hear your thoughts about what I had to say for this chapter. What do you think about Zero Squad with Urie? And what do you think about the whole Shirazu flashback? I think that's put in a little bit more just for more than a flashback. I think we might see him again, because we have seen the dead, especially with CCG members thought to be deceased, coming back to life, especially with that human shield that Furuta ended up putting in his way when he was fighting Matsume, and then the same thing going with Hayaru being blackmailed with Urie. Odds are Shirazu will factor in somewhere into this. It's just a matter of time until that gets revealed, or if it ever happens. So I'm really excited for chapter 137. I have no idea if it's going to be coming out on the new regular schedule of Monday or Tuesday, or if it will just be out on another random day, but we just have to be on the lookout for that. But until chapter 137, where I'll talk with you guys again in either my live reaction or my review for Tokyo Ghoul, I'll talk with you guys then. All right, guys, see you later.